What's going on, everyone? Welcome on into Falcons Today by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here. Hoping you guys are enjoying a nice mini bye after that Thursday night win. What I want to talk about on today's episode are some changes I think the Falcons should make during this mini bye of theirs because they get ready for a couple of big games coming up. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. It's still the NFL, but yeah, the Panthers aren't very intimidating. However, the Seahawks are undefeated going into Week 5. The Buccaneers just gave the Falcons a very close game on Thursday night. So beyond that, you've got the Cowboys, you've got the Vikings, you've got some tough opponents coming up. So what I want to do here is talk about some of the changes I'd like to see Atlanta make, starting with finding a pass rush solution. I know this is easier said than done, but if someone needs to remind you, let me be that guy, because the Falcons pass rush is the worst in the NFL, in my opinion. They have played 5 games and they have 5 sacks. They are averaging 1 sack a game. I mean, keep in mind, this is after playing 5 games, whereas a couple of teams have not even played 5. The Falcons have a leg up on most of the NFL, and they are still dead last in a lot of these pass rushing categories. So, how do you want to find a solution for that? You can go in-house. You want to make some changes, right? We saw more of rookie Rukaroro in Week 5, his first time being active. Do you want to go more with Arnold Ebiketie, less Lorenzo Carter? Do you want to go to free agency? There's not very much out there, but if you'd like to dip your toe in that pond, maybe bring some guys in for a workout. Or do you want to go with the trade route, which is the most, I don't want to say efficient, but the best way to get in a proven player and a good player, but also the most expensive way to get someone in, right? You are giving up a valuable asset, a draft pick, but you got to do something. You just can't sit on your hands anymore. We're past the quarter mark of the 2024 NFL season, and the Atlanta Falcons rank dead last in a category. Regardless of that category, they have to be making some changes. So, I'll turn it over to you, our pinned comment on today's episode. Should the Falcons trade for an edge rusher? Now, while you're typing yes or no, I'll show you guys the Falcons draft capital for the 2025 NFL draft. They don't have a 5th-round pick anymore. That was taken away due to tampering. A couple of trades for Kentavious Street and one other trade that's escaping me right now, and they don't have a 6th-rounder. I think it's Van Jefferson. So they have 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 7th. So I would keep this in mind while giving me your response when it comes to whether or not they should part ways with 20, maybe even 40% of their draft capital to improve their pass rush. I mean, it's not an absolute, yes, it's not a clear black or white answer when you have to factor in what they have to work with. But to me, when you're dead last, you got to make some move. So I would say yes. Second to do, consistent runs from Bijan Robinson. I don't want to say I'm concerned. I'm not reaching for the panic button or anything like that, but we're still waiting for a consistent game out of Bijan, start to finish, because we get flashes, we get stretches, we get quarters, we get runs, but we don't quite get consistent from start to finish out of 7. And so I'm challenging the coaching staff to find some consistency from a very talented running back that has shown us he has great skill sets to him. He is not a bust in my eyes, but we are looking for a true 100-yard game. And I know that seems a little bit simplistic, but I think we'd all sleep a lot better if we just got a nice 135-yard performance from Robinson on the ground, right? Am I wrong? Do we all agree? Can we just get a true fantasy football takeover? And I know that he brings a lot of elements through the air, and he supplements some of his rushes with some of his receiving yards, but damn it, I would just love to see a really good game from Robinson on the ground. And what better way to do that than the Panthers, who have an awful run defense? Third mini bye week to do, cleaning up the missed tackles. This one kind of comes down to execution, but it needs to be brought up and put on people's radars. The Falcons lead the NFL by my count in missed tackles. 17, a season high in Week 5. Just can't have it. Just can't afford to go in every single week knowing, well, we're going to give him a whole lot of extra yardage and free first downs, and we're going to have to bank on a Younghoe Koo 52-yarder just to give us to overtime. Hopefully we win that coin toss, hopefully we win that coin toss, and then we'll get Kadarius Hodge 45-yard touchdown. That's a dicey bet to make every week. And I think a lot of the issues the Falcons defense has had stems from missed tackles. I mean, for example, the 49ers, they've got about like 17 to 20 missed tackles. That's almost what Atlanta had in a single week by itself. So let's clean up the missed tackles. This is something the players and the coaching staff need to focus on in this upcoming week of practice. We have some more changes to make in just a moment, but first, join over 27,000 subscribers here at Falcons Today. We crossed over that number right after our Week 5 watch party. So thank you to all of our new subscribers. Really appreciate you guys hopping aboard. And if you're not on board, hit that sub button down below and join the fastest, largest growing Falcons YouTube community out there. Fourth change, let's establish a role for Kyle Pitts. What's his role? Is he a receiving tight end? Is he a blocking tight end? Is he a hybrid of sorts? Every single week, I feel like we're getting jerked around all over the place, right? He goes from having no grabs in week 4 to having a really strong outing in week 5. Overall on the season, 15 receptions, 193 yards. Half of those receptions came, I think, in just the week 5 game against the Buccaneers. I was looking back at Kyle Pitts' PFF marks from his time at Florida. The guy in his senior year, his last year at Florida, was such a prolific, deep threat for the Gators. I mean, he had 20% of his targets, or receptions, come on passes 20-plus yards down the field. We saw a little bit of that in the start of the Buccaneers game, right? On that very first play, a deep throw to Pitts to get Atlanta across the 50, a great seam route. And then a lot of times we see him run these short intermediate routes. And I'm not saying we got to get those out of the playbook, but let's not forget who Kyle Pitts is. You didn't draft him 4th overall to establish the run and pick up on his key blocking skills. No, let's untap his receiving abilities and let's use him in a lot of ways. I would say like a hybrid of how the Chiefs use Travis Kelce, which Travis Kelce is a Hall of Famer because he does such a great job of designing his own routes mid-route where he just recognizes what the defense gives him, and then he just goes into an open pocket of grass. But for Pitts, yeah, he's pretty young in his career. That's going to come along. He just turned 24 today, actually. Today is Sunday. It's his birthday, I'm pretty sure. So happy birthday, Kyle. But let's use his ability of being a unicorn and a 6'6" god in the red zone. That seems like a good area to give him the football and just toss it up to number 8. So I would like for the coaching staff to come together and establish a clear role for Pitts in this offense, because here we are in year 4, and I don't feel like we're any closer than we were in year 1 to figuring out what does Pitts do in this offense week to week, not just one-offs here and there. Fifth and final thing for Raheem Morris, who I hope is writing this down, get Troy Andersen back. Now, this one may be a little bit out of the coaching staff's hand, but we got to find a way to get Andersen back on the field. No offense to rookie JT Bertrand, and hey, he's a rookie. First time he saw meaningful and a number of snaps against the Buccaneers, 39, I believe, to be exact. But man, did Atlanta miss Andersen and Nate Landman. Win's a win, so we don't need to dwell on some of the lowlights from Thursday, but it was a rough outing for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish rookie linebacker. So if you want to start cleaning up the missed tackles, for sure, getting Andersen back will help out in that department. But they got to get healthy at that inside linebacker position. It's been, I would say, a weak spot of theirs, but it just hasn't provided a ton of stability with the injuries early on to Landman, now to Andersen. Ellis, I think, has had some up and down games and moments so far. So let's get Troy Andersen back. Let's start to get healthy at that position. And hopefully that can kind of become a contagious effect across the entire defense after a very seesaw affair on Thursday. Now that we are past the quarter mark of the season and the Falcons sit at 3-2, how many wins for Atlanta this year? My preseason record prediction for them, I believe, was 10-7. And at 3-2, I kind of want to stick at 10-7. Not that I don't think they're incapable of winning more games, but early on, like going into the year, the entire like storyline for Atlanta, or one of the storylines for Atlanta, was super duper easy schedule. Now some of those games that were thought to be really easy may not be as easy as prescribed. So I'm going to stick with 10 wins, but let me know what you think down below. Before we sign off and get you guys on out of here to sit on your couches and watch Red Zone, I do want to show some love to the Dirty Birds Club: Jose Santana, Ken Ballard, Trey 1222, Jason Lindino, Reese Atkins, Archangel, Angry Liquid, Jeebus H. Christ, Dictator JC, Jordan C. Johnza, Ronan Tyrell, Lord Buddy Bear, some of the latest members being added during the Week 5 watch party. So thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. And if you want to get shout-outs for the entire remainder of the 2024 season, $100 super chat during our watch parties, and we'll throw your name on screen for shout-outs all year long. That's going to do it for us on today's episode. I really appreciate everyone for tuning in. If you're still watching, type an ATL in the comment section. That way I know where the end of the video crew is at.